Darwin is one of the most beloved characters in the amazing world of Gumball, but even though he lives with the Watterson family, who are Darwin's biological parents? And why does the show almost never talk about them? Origin. When Richard bought that little goldfish from the shadiest van in all of Elmore, the seller gave him a super weird warning. This fish is different from all the others, and should never be fed after midnight. Of course, Richard, being the genius he is, completely ignored the advice, and we all know how that turned out, right? As soon as they got home, Gumball was thrilled with his new fish. But instead of just watching him swim in circles, Gumball started talking to him. And the weirdest part? Darwin actually learned how to talk back to his new friend. From that moment on, they started playing together, and Gumball had a brilliant idea. He asked Darwin to pretend he was dead. Gumball ran to tell Nicole, but when Richard saw the little fish in the tank, he thought Darwin had gone belly up for real. So what did they do? They flushed him down the toilet. Yep, Darwin's epic journey started with a flush. But he wasn't just any ordinary fish. On his way back home, he grew legs, a heart, and a mission to find his brother Gumball again. In the end, he was officially adopted by the Watterson family. But one big question has always lingered. Who are Darwin's real parents? He doesn't have any fish siblings. No one's ever seen a cousin, an aunt, or even another fish that looks like him anywhere in Elmore. But in one episode, Darwin mentions something interesting. He talks about his parents' inheritance. Wait a second, so they do exist? Did he actually know them? Is there a missing piece of his family out there somewhere? One thing's for sure, Darwin's origin is still one of Elmore's biggest mysteries. And maybe, just maybe, he's more than just a goldfish with legs. Even with so many unanswered questions, the show keeps leaving small clues here and there, pulling us deeper into the mystery. So come along with us for another deep dive. The Shop. While Darwin's true origin is still an unsolved mystery, many fans have started asking, whoever his parents were, how did he end up in that shady van? The truth might actually be sadder than it seems. In several episodes, Darwin has talked about his mom and dad. He even mentioned that they left him an inheritance, a treasure chest full of bubbles. And here's another thing, it wasn't the Wattersons who taught Darwin how to speak fish language. It was his original parents. That suggests he did meet his biological parents, but it also hints that they might not be around anymore. Because after all, you only leave an inheritance when you're gone. Which raises the big question, is that why Darwin ended up in that van? Now imagine another possibility. Little Darwin, still just a baby fish, left drifting alone, maybe captured by humans or sold on the black market for exotic fish, until one day he winds up in Elmore, sitting in the display tank of some sketchy street vendor. It's possible Darwin was taken away from his family on purpose, maybe as part of some experiment, or because of his special potential. Maybe his own parents even allowed it to happen, so Darwin could fulfill his destiny, becoming Gumball's best friend. In the end, the biggest clue to Darwin's past might be hidden in the few words he's let slip about his parents. Dun, dun, dun! His mother. In the episode The List, we get one of the biggest hints about Darwin's possible origin. While Gumball, Nicole, and Darwin were using the Elmore Maps app, something caught everyone's eye. An orange fish with a tail that looked a lot like Darwin's was swimming across the map. Naturally, everyone freaked out. Could this be Darwin's mom? But then came the disappointment. That fish wasn't his mom, it was a piranha. But the theory didn't die there. If anything, it evolved. Just like Darwin. A lot of fans now believe that this piranha could actually be the real mother of Nicole's adopted son, and the only reason Darwin didn't grow up to become a sharp-toothed predator himself was Gumball. According to this theory, Darwin is a kind of magical fish who changes shape based on his environment and the love he receives. And as crazy as that sounds, it kind of makes sense. In one episode, for a brief moment, Darwin actually does turn into a piranha. It was quick, but it definitely happened. Which means, if Darwin had been raised by his real mom, he might be out there right now, eating raw meat and scaring tourists in rivers. The past. If Darwin had never known his parents, why does he talk about them like they were a real part of his life? In several episodes, he mentions them so casually, it doesn't sound like someone who was abandoned as a baby. It's almost like he has real memories, or at least some stories kept safe in his mind. One of the clearest examples is when he reveals that his parents left him an inheritance, a chest full of air bubbles. At first, that sounds like just another silly Gumball joke, and maybe it is. but it could also be a symbolic clue. That line raises more questions than answers. Did Darwin really have present parents for a while? Or did someone, maybe even the vendor from the van, make up this story so Darwin wouldn't feel completely lost? Another thing, throughout the series, Darwin often calls Nicole Miss Mom, which is definitely unusual, because normally, kids just say Mom. Is that another sign that he remembers his real parents? One thing's clear, Darwin believes he had parents. He speaks with emotion and certainty, and that leads to an even deeper question. When it comes to identity, what matters more? Cold, hard facts, or the memories we carry, even if they're blurry? Before we move on and try to uncover who Darwin's parents really are, drop a comment below saying, "Little fish." Is Richard the dad? In the episode replay, Gumball gets himself into major trouble when Rob, his eternal arch-nemesis, finds a remote control that can literally rewrite reality. And like any good villain with a grudge, Rob decides to kick things off in the most random way possible, turning Gumball's parents into babies. The plan was simple. If Richard and Nicole turned into kids, Gumball and his sister would never exist. And for a moment, it looked like the plan might actually work, until something even weirder started happening. Darwin also began to disappear. Wait, Darwin? But isn't he adopted? If he wasn't born from those two, why would he be disappearing too? That's when the internet did what it does best. It came up with an insane yet genius theory. According to the theory, Richard might actually be Darwin's biological father. And get this, what if the van seller wasn't a seller at all, but actually a saleswoman? And that woman would be Darwin's real mom. Long story short, Richard may have cheated on Nicole with some mysterious fishwoman who sells illegal baby fish out of vans, and years later, unknowingly adopted his own son disguised as a pet. Totally chaotic? Absolutely. But weirdly enough, it kind of makes sense in the Gumball universe. However, some fans argued that maybe Darwin wasn't actually disappearing, but regressing. After all, it was Gumball's love that helped Darwin grow lungs, legs, and a heart full of emotions in the first place. And when Richard first bought him, Darwin was still just a baby fish, so that transformation hadn't happened yet. Poseidon's son? But of course, fans didn't stop there. Hold on, because this next theory goes full-on Greek mythology level. After piecing together tons of clues, one group of fans started suspecting something even crazier. Darwin could be Poseidon's son. Yes, that Poseidon, the god of the seas. Trident, tsunamis, epic beard, the whole deal. The theory says the reason Darwin can talk, walk, and basically act like a more evolved version of half the humans in Elmore is simple. He inherited powers from his dad. After all, kids of gods always get special abilities. And as bizarre as that sounds, things started making sense once fans took a closer look at his name. Maybe Darwin wasn't sent to Earth by some shady vanfish dealer, but by a higher power, to live among mortals and fulfill his destiny, like a cute, family-friendly Aquaman. An orphan now! What if I told you he never had a mom or dad? Not because they left, not because they died, but because they never existed in the first place. According to this theory, Darwin isn't anybody's child. He was created, literally. The one responsible? The van seller. Yep, that creepy guy from the episode The Scam. During all the chaos, he drops a mysterious Cartoon Network notebook, which ends up in Sarah's hands. And that's when she starts making changes to the show's reality. That's where everything starts to connect. What if the van seller isn't just some random side character, but actually the true creator of the show? A conscious being inside Gumball's universe with the power to shape characters, write storylines, and create anything he wants, including a magical fish named Darwin. If that's true, Darwin never needed parents. A character tailor-made to bring balance, emotion, and magic to the chaotic life of the Watterson family. In the end, Darwin isn't just a fish with legs. He's living proof that, even in a cartoon, true friendship can be created from scratch and still feel more real than most things out there. And now's the perfect time for you, if you're not subscribed yet, to hit that subscribe button. That way, you won't miss any new videos on the channel. Abandoned. If you're a fan of the amazing world of Gumball, you've definitely seen the episode The Roots, the one where the entire Watterson family goes absolutely nuts, trying to prove they really are Darwin's family. In that episode, they do everything possible to act like fish, a full-on spectacle of weirdness in the name of family unity. But here's the most interesting part. Darwin wasn't actually sad about feeling out of place. Nope. The whole thing started because he just wanted to guilt-trip Nicole into getting him a bigger fish tank. However, buried between the jokes and the madness, Darwin drops one line that left a lot of fans scratching their heads. He says he never really knew his parents. At other times in the series, Darwin has talked about an inheritance from his parents. He's mentioned a mom and dad, like he has some memory, or at least some solid information about them. But if he never really knew them, how does he know about this inheritance? Who told him that? Where did this whole story even come from? The only explanation brings us back to that mysterious character most people forget about, the van seller. If Darwin really never saw his parents, but still knows they existed, then someone had to tell him about them. Someone had to plant that idea in his head, that his parents existed, that they left him something, and that they're now gone. And that someone could very well be the van seller, the most enigmatic figure in the whole story, who handed Darwin over to the Wattersons saying he was different. If he's different, if he never met his parents but still knows they existed, if he showed up in a van with a man who clearly knew way too much, then maybe this seller is way more important than he looks. At the end of the day, Darwin's origin remains one of the biggest mysteries in the amazing world of Gumball. With conflicting clues, crazy fan theories, and emotional moments, one thing is certain. He's not just a goldfish with legs, and if you love Bluey and other animated shows, we've got 2 really awesome videos you're gonna love watching. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll see you next time!